There is a leader inside you. Learn to hear it. Introduction. You're not lost. You're just ignoring the strongest voice you have. You think you're lost. You're not. You think you don't know what to do. You do. You think you need someone to show you the way. You don't, because the strongest voice you have, the one that knows exactly what you need, is already inside you. You've just been ignoring it. For years, you've been listening to everyone else. Their opinions, their advice, their expectations. You've been drowning out your own voice with noise. Social media noise. Expert noise. Showbiz noise. And now you can't hear yourself anymore. But here's the truth. You're not lost. You're just ignoring the strongest voice you have, the voice that's been guiding you all along. The voice that knows what's right for you, the voice that's been trying to lead you while you've been busy following everyone else. That voice? That's your inner leader, and it's been talking to you this whole time. You just stopped listening, maybe because it was quiet, maybe because it didn't sound confident, maybe because everyone else was louder, but it's there. Waiting, ready, clear. And the moment you start listening, everything changes. Because you stop looking for answers outside, you stop seeking validation from others. You stop waiting for someone to give you permission. You start trusting yourself. And that trust, that's leadership. Not the kind that commands a room. Not the kind that shouts orders. The kind that moves with certainty, even when the path is unclear. The kind that makes decisions without needing consensus. The kind that knows even when it can't explain how. That's the leader inside you. And this book isn't about finding it, because you already have it. This book is about learning to hear it, learning to trust it, learning to follow it, even when, especially when everyone else is telling you something different. Because the moment you start listening to your inner leader, you stop being lost, you stop being confused, you stop being stuck. You start moving with clarity, with purpose, with power. Not because someone gave you a map, but because you found your compass. And that compass, it's been inside you all along. So stop looking outside. Stop asking for permission. Stop waiting for someone to show you the way. Because the leader you've been searching for, it's you, and it's time to listen. Chapter 1. The leader inside you has been talking all along. 1. Why your inner voice was silenced. Your inner voice didn't disappear. It was silenced by parents who told you to be realistic, by teachers who told you to follow the rules, by society that told you to fit in. Every time you spoke up and got shut down, every time you followed your gut and got criticized, every time you chose your path and got questioned, you learned that your voice didn't matter, that your instincts were wrong, that your judgment couldn't be trusted. So you stopped listening, not consciously, but slowly. You started seeking approval instead of direction. You started asking others instead of asking yourself. You started following instead of leading, because it was safer, easier, less confrontational. But safe doesn't mean right, and easy doesn't mean fulfilling. Your inner voice was silenced, not because it was weak, but because you were taught to ignore it. You were taught that external validation matters more than internal knowing. Other people's opinions are more valuable than your own. Following the crowd is smarter than trusting yourself, and so you became a follower. Not because you're not a leader, but because you stopped listening to the leader inside you. But here's what they didn't tell you. Your inner voice never left. It's been there this whole time. Whispering, nudging, guiding. You've just been too busy listening to everyone else to hear it. But it's still there. Every time you felt that gut instinct, that was your inner leader. Every time you knew something was off, even when you couldn't explain it, that was your inner leader. Every time you wanted to say no but said yes to please others, your inner leader was screaming at you. You just weren't listening. Because you'd been trained not to. But that training, it can be undone. You can learn to hear yourself again. You can learn to trust your instincts. You can learn to follow your inner leader. It starts with one simple truth: your voice was never wrong. You were just taught to ignore it, but now you get to reclaim it. 2. The cost of not listening to yourself. Every time you ignore your inner voice, there's a cost. It's not immediate. It's not obvious, but it's there. The cost of living someone else's life. The cost of making decisions that don't align with who you are. The cost of waking up one day and realizing you don't recognize yourself anymore. Because not listening to yourself doesn't just delay your success, it erodes your soul. Every time you do what others expect, instead of what you know is right, you lose a piece of yourself. Every time you silence your gut to avoid conflict, you teach yourself that your judgment doesn't matter. Every time you choose approval over authenticity, you drift further from who you're meant to be. And over time, the cost becomes unbearable. You end up in a career you hate because someone told you it was practical. You end up in relationships that drain you because you didn't trust your instinct that said this isn't right. You end up living a life that looks good on paper but feels empty inside. That's the cost, not failure, not struggle. Disconnection. Disconnection from yourself, from your purpose, from your power. Because when you don't listen to your inner leader, you're not just making bad decisions, you're abandoning yourself. And you can't lead others if you won't even lead yourself. You can't inspire confidence if you don't trust your own judgment. You can't create the life you want if you keep following someone else's blueprint. So what's the cost of not listening? It's everything. Your clarity, your confidence, your sense of direction, your ability to make decisions without second guessing, your ability to take action without needing validation, your ability to move through life with certainty, all of it lost. Because you stopped listening to the one voice that actually knows what's best for you. Yours. But here's the good news: you can start listening again. Today, right now, in this moment. You can reclaim your inner authority. You can rebuild your self-trust. You can reconnect with the leader inside you. But first, you have to acknowledge the cost. You have to see what ignoring yourself has done. You have to feel the weight of living out of alignment. Because only then will you commit to listening, really listening, to the voice that's been waiting for you to finally hear it. 3. Confusion is a signal, not a failure. You think confusion means you don't know. It doesn't. Confusion means you're ignoring what you already know. Because deep down, beneath the overthinking, beneath the doubt, beneath the fear, you know what the right decision is. You know which path to take. You know what needs to happen next, but you're confused. Why? Because your inner voice is saying one thing, and the world is saying another. Your gut says leave, the world says stay, it's safe. Your instinct says take the risk. The world says be practical. Your inner leader says you're ready. The world says wait until you're certain. And that conflict, that's what creates confusion. Not a lack of knowing, but a lack of trust. Trust in yourself, trust in your instincts, trust in your inner leader. Because confusion isn't a sign that you're lost. It's a sign that you're listening to too many voices. And they're all drowning out the one that matters most, yours. So here's the truth: you're not confused about what to do. You're confused about whether you should trust yourself enough to do it. And that's different, because the first problem is external. What should I do? The second problem is internal. Can I trust myself to know? And winners, leaders, people who move with clarity, they've solved the second problem. They've learned to trust their inner voice, even when it's quiet, even when it's uncertain, even when everyone else disagrees. So when confusion shows up, don't panic. It's not a sign that you don't know. It's a signal that you're ignoring what you do know. So ask yourself, if I trusted myself completely, what would I do? Not what would be safe, not what would make others happy, not what would avoid judgment. What would I do if I trusted myself? That answer, that's your inner leader speaking. And the moment you listen, the confusion disappears. Because you were never lost. You were just afraid to follow the voice that already knew the way. 4. The moment you realize you were always capable. There's a moment when it hits you, you were always capable. You didn't need more training, you didn't need more time, you didn't need more confidence. You just needed to stop doubting yourself. Because everything you've been searching for, the clarity, the direction, the certainty, you already had it. You've just been second guessing it. Asking others for validation, waiting for permission, looking for proof that you were ready. But you were always ready. The leader inside you, it's been ready this entire time. You just didn't trust it. You thought you needed someone else to confirm it. Someone else to see it in you first. Someone else to give you the green light. But that's not how leadership works. Leadership doesn't wait for validation. It doesn't wait for permission. It doesn't wait for proof. It moves. And the moment you realize that, the moment you understand that you were always capable, everything changes. You stop waiting. You stop doubting. You stop looking outside for answers that are already inside. You start trusting yourself, and that trust, that's when you become unstoppable, because you're not looking for a sign anymore. You're not waiting for the right moment anymore. You're not asking for permission anymore. You're leading, from the inside out, with the voice that's been there all along, finally getting the attention it deserves. You were always capable. You just had to realize it, and now that you have, there's no going back. Chapter 2: Doubt is loud. Leadership is quiet until you train it. 1. The difference between intuition and fear. Intuition whispers, fear screams, and most people can't tell the difference. So they follow the loudest voice, which is always fear, and they call it being realistic. They call it being cautious. They call it being smart. But it's not. It's just fear, pretending to be wisdom. So how do you know the difference? Intuition feels like knowing. Fear feels like panic. Intuition is calm. Fear is chaotic. Intuition says this is right. Fear says what if it's wrong? Intuition moves you forward. Fear keeps you frozen. Intuition is directional. Fear is paralyzing. Intuition doesn't need reasons. Fear has 1,000 reasons. See the difference? When your gut says do it, and you feel calm certainty, even if you don't know how, that's intuition. That's your inner leader. When your mind says don't, and you feel panic, and you start listing all the ways it could fail, that's fear. That's your survival instinct. And here's the problem: fear is louder. It's designed to be, because fear's job is to keep you safe, not to make you successful, not to make you fulfilled. Just safe, so it screams. It floods your mind with worst-case scenarios. It convinces you that staying still is the smart choice. And intuition, it doesn't scream. It doesn't panic. It just knows, quietly, calmly, certainly. But because it's quiet, most people miss it. They follow the loud voice, the one that says don't risk it, and they call it wisdom. But it's not. It's just fear, and fear is a terrible leader. So here's what you need to do: learn to distinguish the two. When a thought shows up, ask, does this feel like knowing, or does this feel like panic? If it's knowing, trust it. If it's panic, question it. Because your inner leader is quiet, but that doesn't make it wrong. It just makes it easy to ignore, and that's the mistake most people make. They ignore the quiet voice and follow the loud one. Don't be most people. Listen to the whisper. That's where your power is. 2. Why overthinkers struggle to hear themselves. Overthinkers don't have a thinking problem. They have a listening problem. They're so busy thinking, they can't hear themselves. Their mind is a war zone. Should I do this? What if it doesn't work? What will people think? Am I making a mistake? What's the right choice? Question after question after question, and none of them get answered, because they're not asking their inner leader, they're asking their anxiety. And anxiety doesn't have answers, it just has more questions. So they spiral, thinking in circles, analyzing every possibility, weighing every outcome, and they call it being thorough. But it's not. It's avoidance, because overthinking is just a way to delay action, a way to avoid making a decision, a way to stay safe. And overthinkers know this. Deep down they know. They know that if they just listened to their gut, they'd already know what to do. But listening to their gut means trusting themselves, taking responsibility, moving without certainty, and that's terrifying, so they overthink. They drown out their inner voice with mental noise. And then they wonder why they feel confused. Here's the truth: you're not confused, you're overthinking, and overthinking creates confusion. Because when you think too much, you can justify anything. You can talk yourself into staying, you can talk yourself into leaving, you can talk yourself into any decision or out of any decision. And that flexibility? That's not intelligence, it's paralysis. So if you're an overthinker, here's what you need to do: stop asking more questions. Start listening for the answer. Close your eyes, take a breath, ask yourself, what do I already know? Not what should I do, not what's the smartest move. What do I already know? and then listen, not to the thoughts, to the feeling, the quiet knowing beneath the noise. That's your inner leader. And it's been trying to tell you while you've been too busy thinking to hear it. So stop thinking, start listening, and watch how fast the confusion disappears. 3. Turning inner noise into clarity. Your mind is noisy, that's normal, but noise isn't the problem. Not filtering it is, because buried in all that noise is clarity. You just have to know how to find it. So how do you turn noise into clarity? Step 1. Stop trying to silence the noise. You can't. Your mind will always generate thoughts. That's its job. So don't fight it, just learn to filter it. Step 2. Separate signal from noise. Not every thought deserves your attention. Most thoughts are just mental chatter. Useless, repetitive, meaningless. But buried in that chatter is the signal. The thought that matters, the one that moves you forward, so learn to spot it. Step 3. Ask, is this thought useful? When a thought shows up, ask, does this help me decide? Does this move me forward? Does this give me clarity? If yes, pay attention. If no, ignore it. Simple. Step 4. Write it out. Your mind is cluttered because you're trying to hold everything in your head. When you write it out, you externalize the noise, and what felt overwhelming becomes manageable. Step 5. Focus on the next step. Clarity doesn't mean seeing the whole path. It means seeing the next step. So stop trying to figure out everything. Just ask, what's the next right move? That's all you need, because clarity isn't about having all the answers. It's about knowing the next step and taking it. Noise is inevitable, but clarity is a choice to filter, to focus, to act. So stop drowning in the noise, start extracting the signal, and move. 4. Training your mind to listen with authority. Your inner leader doesn't need to shout, it just needs you to listen. But listening isn't passive, it's a skill you train. So how do you train your mind to listen with authority? 1. Create space for silence. Your inner leader can't speak if your mind is constantly filled with noise. So create space, no phone, no input, no distractions, just silence. And in that silence, listen. 2. Ask better questions. Your mind will answer whatever you ask. If you ask, why does this always happen to me? Your mind will give you reasons to feel like a victim. If you ask, what's my next move? Your mind will give you direction. So ask questions that empower you, questions that lead to action, questions that create clarity. 3. Trust the first answer. Your inner leader speaks first, fear speaks second. So when you ask yourself a question, the first answer that comes up, that's usually your inner leader. The second, third, and fourth answers, that's overthinking. So trust the first answer and move. 4. Act on what you hear. Listening without acting is useless, so when your inner leader speaks, act on it. Even if it's small, even if it's scary, because every time you act on your inner voice, you strengthen it. And every time you ignore it, you weaken it, so train it by using it. 5. Reflect on what worked. At the end of the day, ask, when did I listen to myself today? What happened when I did? And celebrate it, because what you reinforce gets stronger. Your inner leader is there. It's been there all along. You just have to train yourself to hear it, and trust it, and follow it. That's authority, not loud, not forceful. Quiet, certain, unmistakable, and it's yours the moment you decide to listen. Chapter 3. Stop searching for leaders, become one. 1. Why role models don't save you. You've been looking for someone to follow, someone who has it figured out, someone who can show you the way, a mentor, a role model, a leader, and you think, if I just find the right person to follow, everything will make sense. But here's the truth, role models don't save you, they inspire you. They show you what's possible, they give you a glimpse of what you could become, but they don't walk your path for you. Because your path is yours. Your challenges are yours, your decisions are yours, your life is yours, and no one else can lead it for you. So stop searching for someone to follow. Start becoming someone worth following, not for others, for yourself. Because the leader you're looking for, the one who knows exactly what you need, the one who has the answers, it's you. And the moment you stop searching outside and start leading from within, everything changes. You stop waiting for permission. You stop needing validation. You stop looking for someone to tell you what to do. You start trusting yourself, and that trust, that's leadership. So learn from others, be inspired by them, study them, but don't follow them. Follow yourself, because you're the only leader who knows exactly where you need to go. 2. Self-trust as a leadership skill. Leadership isn't about charisma. It's not about confidence. It's not about having all the answers. Leadership is about self-trust. Trust that you can figure it out. Trust that you can handle what comes. Trust that your judgment is sound, even when others disagree. And self-trust, it's a skill, not a personality trait, not something you're born with. A skill you build. So how do you build self-trust? 1. Keep your promises to yourself. Every time you say you'll do something, and then don't, you erode self-trust. Every time you follow through, even when it's hard, you build it. So start small. I'm going to work out today, then do it. I'm going to finish this task, then do it. Keep your word to yourself. Because self-trust is built, one kept promise at a time. 2. Make decisions and own them. Self-trust grows through decision-making. Every time you make a decision and commit to it, you strengthen your trust in yourself. Every time you second-guess, or change your mind, or ask for validation, you weaken it. So decide and own it, even if it's wrong, even if you have to course-correct later. Because leaders make decisions, and they trust themselves enough to handle the consequences. 3. Stop outsourcing your judgment. Every time you ask someone else, "What should I do?" you're telling yourself, "I don't trust my own judgment." So stop, ask for input, sure, get perspective, absolutely, but make the final call yourself. Because self-trust isn't built by following others, it's built by trusting yourself, even when you're not sure. 4. Reflect on your wins. You've made good decisions before, you've trusted yourself before, you've succeeded before. So remind yourself, write down the times you trusted your gut, and it worked out. Because self-trust is built on evidence, and you have more evidence than you think. You just haven't been paying attention to it. Self-trust is the foundation of leadership. Without it, you'll always be looking for someone else to lead you. With it, you become unstoppable. So build it, one decision at a time, one kept promise at a time, one act of self-reliance at a time. Because the moment you trust yourself, you become the leader you've been searching for. 3. Decision-making without external approval. You've been trained to seek approval. Before you make a move, you ask, "What do you think? Is this a good idea? Should I do this?" And you wait. Wait for someone to validate your choice. Wait for someone to give you permission. Wait for someone to confirm that you're making the right decision. But here's the problem. No one else knows what's right for you. They don't live your life. They don't have your goals. They don't carry your consequences. So why are you letting them decide? Leaders don't seek approval. They make decisions, and they trust themselves enough to live with the outcome. So how do you make decisions without external approval? 1. Recognize the approval trap. Every time you ask for approval, you're giving away your power. You're saying, "I don't trust myself enough to decide," so stop asking. 2. Trust your judgment. You know more than you think. You've lived your life. You know your values. You know what matters to you. So trust that. When you're faced with a decision, ask yourself, what feels right to me? Not what looks good, not what others would choose. What feels right to you? And trust that answer. 3. Accept that you might be wrong. The fear of making the wrong decision is what keeps you seeking approval. But here's the truth, you will make wrong decisions. Everyone does. But wrong decisions aren't fatal. They're just feedback. So make the decision. And if it's wrong, course-correct. But don't let the fear of being wrong keep you from deciding at all. 4. Own the outcome. Whatever you decide, own it. Don't blame others. Don't make excuses. You decided, you own it. And that ownership, that's power. Because when you own your decisions, you stop being a victim of circumstances. You become the creator of your life. Decision-making without approval is freedom. Freedom from needing validation. Freedom from waiting for permission. Freedom from living someone else's life. So decide. And trust yourself enough to live with it. 4. Leading yourself before leading others. You can't lead others if you won't lead yourself. You can't inspire confidence if you don't trust yourself. You can't create direction if you're still waiting for someone to tell you where to go. Leadership starts with self-leadership, and self-leadership is simple: do what you say you'll do. Honor your commitments to yourself, make decisions and follow through. That's it, but most people skip this step. They want to lead others before they've learned to lead themselves. And it doesn't work, because leadership isn't about managing people, it's about managing yourself. Your thoughts, your actions, your commitments. So if you want to lead, start here. 1. Lead your mornings. How you start your day sets the tone for everything. If you wake up and immediately check your phone, you're letting the world lead you. If you wake up and take control of your first hour, you're leading yourself. So decide, what does your morning look like, and then execute it every single day. 2. Lead your decisions. Stop waiting for consensus. Stop seeking approval. Make decisions. Trust yourself. Move forward, even if you're unsure, even if others disagree, because self-leadership means you're the final authority on your life. 3. Lead your standards. What do you stand for? What won't you tolerate? What are your non-negotiables? Define them and live by them, not when it's convenient, always. Because self-leadership is about integrity, doing what you said you do, even when no one's watching. 4. Lead your growth. Don't wait for someone to develop you. Develop yourself. Read, learn, practice, improve every single day. Because self-leadership is about becoming better, not waiting for someone to make you better. You can't lead others if you can't lead yourself, so start there. Lead your thoughts, lead your actions, lead your life, and when you do, others will naturally follow. Not because you commanded them, but because they see someone who knows where they're going, and that's magnetic. Chapter 4. Your inner leader speaks in action, not excuses. 1. Action is self-communication. Your inner leader doesn't speak in words, it speaks in action. Every time you act, you're telling yourself something. Every time you follow through, you're saying, I trust myself. Every time you quit, you're saying, I don't. Action is self-communication, and the message you're sending yourself through your actions is shaping who you become. So what are you telling yourself? Are you telling yourself, I'm someone who finishes what I start? Or I'm someone who gives up when it gets hard? Are you telling yourself, I'm capable? Or I need perfect conditions to act? Because your inner leader is listening. And it's not listening to your words, it's watching your actions. You can say, I'm disciplined, but if you don't act disciplined, your inner leader doesn't believe you. You can say, I'm a leader, but if you don't act like one, your inner leader knows the truth. So stop talking, start acting. Because action is the language your inner leader understands, and the more you act in alignment with who you want to be, the more your inner leader believes it. And the more it believes it, the stronger it becomes. So act. Not perfectly. Not when you feel like it. Just act, because every action is a message to yourself, and the message you send determines who you become. 2. Why hesitation weakens inner authority. Hesitation is a virus. It starts small. Maybe I should wait. Let me think about it. I'm not sure yet. And then it spreads. 1 hesitation becomes 2, 2 becomes 10, 10 becomes a pattern. And before you know it, hesitation is your default. You hesitate before speaking. You hesitate before deciding. You hesitate before acting. And every time you hesitate, you weaken your inner authority. Because hesitation sends a message, I don't trust myself. And your inner leader hears that. And it gets quieter, weaker, less certain. Because why would it speak if you're not going to listen? So here's what you need to understand. Hesitation doesn't protect you. It weakens you. It makes you doubt yourself more. It makes decisions harder. It makes action feel impossible. Because the more you hesitate, the less you trust yourself. And the less you trust yourself, the more you hesitate. It's a cycle. And it only stops when you decide to act. Not when you're ready. Not when you're certain now. Because action breaks the cycle. Every time you act despite hesitation, you send a different message, I trust myself. And your inner leader hears that too, and it gets stronger, louder, more certain, because it knows you're finally listening. So stop hesitating. Not because hesitation is always wrong, but because chronic hesitation kills your inner authority. And without inner authority, you'll never lead yourself, so act. Even if you're unsure, even if you're scared, even if you don't have all the information, act, because action builds authority, and authority builds confidence, and confidence builds momentum, and momentum builds the life you actually want, so stop waiting, start acting. Your inner leader is waiting for you to finally move. 3. Acting before certainty. Certainty is a myth. You'll never feel 100% certain, not about anything that matters. So if you're waiting for certainty before you act, you'll wait forever. Winners act before certainty. They act with 70 information. They act with incomplete data. They act when they're still scared. Because they know. Action creates certainty, not the other way around. You don't feel certain and then act. You act and then feel certain. Because action gives you information. Information gives you clarity. Clarity gives you confidence. And confidence feels like certainty, but it only comes after you move. So stop waiting. Stop waiting to feel ready. Stop waiting to have all the answers. Stop waiting for the perfect moment, because the perfect moment is now. Not because conditions are perfect, but because waiting won't make them better, so act. Take the first step. Make the decision. Start the project. Even if you don't know how it will turn out. Because here's the truth, you'll figure it out. Not before you start, as you go. Winners don't have more certainty than you. They just act anyway, and that action creates the certainty they need. So stop demanding certainty before you act. Start creating certainty through action, because that's the only way it works. Chapter 4. Your inner leader speaks in action, not excuses. 4. Momentum as proof of leadership. You can say you're a leader, but if you're not moving, you're not leading. Because leadership creates momentum, and momentum is proof that you're not just thinking about it, proof that you're not just planning, proof that you're actually doing it. So if you want to know if you're leading yourself, look at your momentum. Are you moving forward? Are you taking action? Are you building something? If yes, you are leading. If no, you are stalling. And stalling isn't leadership. It's hesitation disguised as strategy. Most people confuse thinking with doing. They spend months planning, strategizing, preparing. And they call it being smart, but it's not. It's avoidance. Because momentum doesn't come from thinking. It comes from moving, one step, then another, then another. That's momentum, and momentum is visible. You can see it in your life, you can feel it in your energy. You can measure it in your results. When you have momentum, everything feels easier, decisions come faster, action feels natural, progress becomes inevitable. But when you don't have momentum, everything feels harder. Decisions feel impossible, action feels forced, progress feels stuck. So how do you build momentum? 1. Start small. You don't need a massive first step, you just need a first step. One action, one decision, one move forward, that's all. Because small actions create momentum, and momentum creates more action. It's like pushing a boulder. The first push is the hardest, but once it starts rolling, it becomes easier, faster, unstoppable. That's momentum. 2. Don't stop. Momentum dies in stillness, so once you start, don't stop. Keep moving, even if it's slow, even if it's imperfect, even if you're tired. Because motion creates momentum, and momentum creates results. Every day you show up, you build momentum. Every day you skip, you lose it. And rebuilding momentum is 10 times harder than maintaining it. So don't stop, even on bad days, even when you don't feel like it, even when progress feels invisible. Keep moving, because consistency is what transforms small actions into massive momentum. 3. Build on yesterday. Momentum compounds. Every day do slightly more than you did yesterday. Not 100 more, just one more representative, one more page, one more call. Small increases, stacked daily, because compound momentum is unstoppable momentum. Today's one improvement becomes tomorrow's foundation, and over time, you're not the same person. You're 10 times better, not because of one heroic effort, but because of 100 small, consistent actions. That's how leaders build momentum, not through dramatic moments, through daily discipline. 4. Track it. You can't see momentum if you're not measuring it, so track your progress. Every day, ask yourself, what did I do today? What did I build? Where did I move forward? Write it down, not to impress anyone, to remind yourself, because when you see momentum, you believe in it. And when you believe in it, you keep building it. Tracking creates accountability. Accountability creates action. Action creates momentum. And momentum creates proof. Proof that you're leading yourself. Proof that you're not all talk. Proof that you're becoming who you said you'd be. 5. Let momentum speak for itself. You don't need to announce your progress. You don't need to defend your choices. You don't need to convince anyone. Just show them your momentum. Show them what you've built. Show them how far you've come. Show them the consistency of your action, because momentum is undeniable. People might doubt your words. They might question your intentions. They might dismiss your plans. But they can't argue with momentum. When they see someone moving consistently, relentlessly, undeniably, they respect it, even if they don't say it, even if they don't like it. They respect it, because momentum is proof of leadership, not words, not intentions, not plans, movement. So if you want to prove to yourself that you're a leader, stop talking about what you're going to do, and start building momentum. One action at a time, one day at a time, one step at a time. Because momentum doesn't lie. It shows up in your results. It shows up in your confidence. It shows up in how you carry yourself. When you have momentum, you don't need to convince anyone you're a leader. They can see it. They can feel it. They can't deny it. Because you're not standing still. You're moving. And movement is the language of leadership. So move. Build momentum. Protect momentum. Let momentum prove that the leader inside you isn't just a voice. It's a force that's been waiting for you to finally unleash it. And now you have. So keep moving, and watch yourself become the leader you always were. Chapter 5. Fear tries to protect you. Leadership tells you to move. 1. The biology of fear versus leadership thinking. Fear is biological. It's hardwired into your brain. Your amygdala, the fear center, is designed to keep you alive. Not happy, not successful, alive. So when you face something new, something uncertain, something that could go wrong, your amygdala fires, and you feel racing heart, sweaty palms, tight chest. Your body is screaming danger, but here's the thing, your amygdala can't tell the difference between actual danger and perceived danger. It treats public speaking the same way it treats a lion. It treats starting a business the same way it treats falling off a cliff. It just knows new danger, and so it tries to stop you, not because it's evil, but because it's programmed to protect you, by keeping you safe, by keeping you small, by keeping you the same. That's fear. But leadership is different. Leadership lives in your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain that thinks rationally, that plans, that makes decisions. And leadership says this isn't danger. This is growth. So when fear says stop, leadership says move. Not recklessly, strategically. Because leadership understands fear is just a signal that you're stepping outside your comfort zone, a signal that you're doing something that matters, but it's not a stop sign. It's a GPS pointing you toward growth. So when fear shows up, don't fight it. Don't ignore it. Acknowledge it. I feel fear. That means I'm growing. And then let leadership take over, because fear will always be there. But leadership decides whether you move forward anyway, and that decision, that's everything. 2. Using fear as a signal for growth. Most people run from fear. Leaders run toward it. Why? Because they know fear is a signal that says this matters. If something doesn't scare you, it probably won't change you. But if it terrifies you, that's where transformation lives. So leaders don't avoid fear, they use it as a compass. What am I most afraid of right now? That's the question. And the answer? That's what you should do next. Because fear points to growth. You're afraid of starting that business. That's your next move. You're afraid of having that conversation. That's what you need to do. You're afraid of putting yourself out there. That's where your breakthrough is. Fear isn't the enemy. Avoidance is. Because every time you avoid fear, you stay the same. Every time you move toward it, you grow. So here's how to use fear as a signal. 1. Notice what scares you. Pay attention. What makes your heart race? What makes you want to run? What makes you hesitate? That's the signal. 2. Ask, why does this scare me? Get specific. I'm afraid of failing. I'm afraid of looking stupid. I'm afraid of being rejected. Name it, because when you name fear, it loses power. 3. Reframe it. Fear of failing, fear of not being good enough yet. Fear of looking stupid, fear of being seen while learning. Fear of rejection, fear of not being accepted. And then ask, is that fear worth staying stuck? Usually, no. 4. Move toward it. Do the thing that scares you, not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. Because growth lives on the other side of fear, and you can't get there by avoiding it. Fear is not a wall, it's a door, and leaders walk through it, every single time. 3. Courage is a trained response. You think courage is something you're born with. It's not. Courage is trained. Like a muscle, like a skill, like a habit. The more you practice courage, the stronger it gets. And the more you avoid fear, the weaker it gets. So how do you train courage? 1. Start small. You don't need to face your biggest fear today. Just face one small fear. Make one uncomfortable phone call. Have one difficult conversation. Take one small risk. And do it even though you're scared. That's courage. 2. Do it repeatedly. One act of courage doesn't change you. Repeated acts of courage do. So make it a practice. Every day do one thing that scares you. Not massive, just uncomfortable. Because every time you act despite fear, you're training courage. 3. Celebrate it. Every time you act courageously, acknowledge it. I did that even though I was scared. Because what you celebrate gets reinforced. And the more you reinforce courage, the more automatic it becomes. 4. Reflect on it. At the end of the day, ask, when was I courageous today? And write it down, because courage isn't loud, it's quiet, and if you don't pay attention, you'll miss it. Courage isn't a personality trait, it's a trained response, and you can train it, starting today, one scared action at a time. 4. Choosing direction over comfort. Every day you have a choice, comfort or direction. You can stay where it's safe, where it's familiar, where nothing is uncertain. Or, you can move toward where you want to go, even if it's uncomfortable, even if it's uncertain, even if it's scary. Most people choose comfort, and they wonder why their life doesn't change. Leaders choose direction, not because comfort doesn't matter, but because direction matters more, because comfort is temporary, but direction is permanent. When you choose comfort, you feel good in the moment, but nothing changes. When you choose direction, you feel uncomfortable in the moment, but everything changes. So the question is, what do you want more? Comfort today, or progress tomorrow? Because you can't have both. Growth requires discomfort. Change requires uncertainty. Leadership requires choosing direction over comfort every single time. So when you're faced with a choice, ask, does this move me toward my goal, or does this keep me comfortable? If it moves you forward, choose it, even if it's hard, even if it's scary, even if it's uncertain, because that choice, that's leadership. And leadership doesn't choose easy, it chooses necessary. So stop choosing comfort, start choosing direction, and watch how fast your life transforms. Chapter 6. You don't need permission to step forward. 1. Breaking the habit of waiting. You've been waiting for the right time, waiting for the right opportunity, waiting for someone to give you permission. But here's the truth, the right time is now. Not tomorrow, not when you're ready, now, because waiting is a habit. A habit you've trained yourself into. You wait for approval, you wait for certainty, you wait for conditions to be perfect, and while you wait, life passes you by. So how do you break the habit of waiting? 1. Recognize it. Notice when you're waiting. I'll start when, I'll do it after, I'll move forward once. Those are waiting statements. And every time you say them, you're reinforcing the habit. 2. Ask, what am I waiting for? Be specific. I'm waiting for more money. I'm waiting to feel confident. I'm waiting for someone to approve. And then ask, do I actually need that, or am I just avoiding action? Usually, you're avoiding. 3. Take one step now. You don't need to do everything today. Just one thing. one email, one call, one decision, something that moves you forward because action breaks the waiting habit. 4. Make now your default. When an opportunity shows up, don't say let me think about it. Say I'll do it now. When a task appears, don't say I'll do it later. Do it now, because now becomes a habit, just like later became a habit. And now is the habit of leaders. You don't need permission to start. You don't need perfect conditions. You don't need certainty. You just need to stop waiting and move. 2. Identity shift from follower to leader. You've been a follower, not because you're weak, but because you've been taught to follow, to wait for instructions, to seek approval, to do what you're told. And that worked for a while, but it's not working anymore. Because the life you want requires you to be a leader, not of others, of yourself. So how do you make that shift from follower to leader? 1. Change your identity. You're not someone who waits for direction anymore. You're someone who creates direction. Not what should I do, but what am I going to do? That's the shift. 2. Stop seeking permission. Followers ask can I? Leaders decide I will. So stop asking, start deciding. 3. Take responsibility. Followers blame circumstances. Leaders take ownership. So when something goes wrong, don't blame. Own it. What could I have done differently? Because ownership is power. 4. Led by example. You don't need a title to lead. You don't need followers to be a leader. You just need to act like one. Make decisions. Take action. Hold yourself accountable. And others will notice, not because you told them to, but because they see someone who knows where they're going. The shift from follower to leader is just a decision to stop waiting, a decision to start leading, starting with yourself. 3. Self-validation as power. You've been seeking validation from others, their approval, their praise, their acknowledgement, and as long as you need external validation, you'll never feel powerful. Because power comes from within, not from others. So how do you build self-validation? 1. Stop asking what do they think? Start asking what do I think? Your opinion matters more than theirs, because you're the one living your life. 2. Celebrate your own wins. Don't wait for others to notice. Notice yourself. I did that. I followed through. I'm proud of myself. That's self-validation. 3. Define your own standards. Don't measure yourself by someone else's ruler. Define success for yourself. What matters to you? What are you building toward? What makes you proud? That's your standard. 4. Trust your judgment. You don't need consensus to be right. You just need to trust yourself. So when you make a decision, trust it, even if others disagree. Because self-validation is trusting yourself more than you trust their opinions. External validation is temporary. Self-validation is permanent. So stop looking outside. Start validating yourself and watch how powerful you become. 4. Standing firm without being loud. Leadership isn't about being loud. It's not about dominating. It's not about proving yourself. Leadership is about standing firm in your decisions, in your values, in your direction. Even when, especially when, others disagree, you don't need to shout. You don't need to argue. You don't need to convince. You just need to stand firm. 1. Know what you stand for. You can't stand firm if you don't know what you're standing on. So define it. What are your values? What are your non-negotiables? What won't you compromise on? Write it down. 2. Don't waver. When others push back, and they will, don't fold. Not out of stubbornness. Out of clarity. This is what I've decided. No explanation needed. 3. Stay calm. Standing firm doesn't mean being aggressive. It means being unmoved, calm, certain, clear. 4. Let your actions speak. You don't need to defend your choices. Just act on them, and let the results speak for themselves. Standing firm is quiet power. The kind that doesn't need to shout to be heard. The kind that doesn't need to prove itself to be respected. The kind that just is. That's leadership. Chapter 7. When you trust yourself, others follow. 1. Energy precedes influence. People don't follow your words. They follow your energy. The energy you carry. The energy you project. The energy that says I know where I'm going. That energy, that's influence. And it has nothing to do with charisma, nothing to do with talking. It's about certainty. When you trust yourself, others feel it. They don't know why. They just know you're someone worth following, because your energy says I'm not lost. And that energy is magnetic. So how do you cultivate that energy? 1. Trust yourself first. You can't project certainty if you don't feel it, so build self-trust. Make decisions, follow through, keep your promises to yourself, because self-trust creates certainty, and certainty creates energy, and energy creates influence. 2. Stop second-guessing. Every time you doubt yourself, your energy shifts, from certain to uncertain, from clear to confused, and people feel that, so decide, and commit, no wavering. 3. Move with purpose. Even if you're unsure, move like you know, because purpose is projected through action. And when people see you moving with purpose, they assume you know something they don't, and they follow. 4. Be present. Influence isn't about being loud, it's about being present, fully there, fully engaged, fully certain, and that presence, that's what people follow. Energy precedes influence, so if you want to lead, start with your energy, and the rest will follow. 2. Presence over performance. You think leadership is about performance, about saying the right things, about looking confident. It's not. Leadership is about presence, being fully there, fully grounded, fully certain. Performance is external, presence is internal. And people can tell the difference. When you're performing, you're trying to impress. When you're present, you're just being, and being is more powerful than trying. Because presence doesn't need validation, presence doesn't need approval. Presence just is, so stop performing, stop trying to be impressive. Stop trying to prove yourself, just be certain, be grounded, be present. And watch how people respond, not because you did something, but because you were something. Someone who didn't need to perform to be powerful. Presence is leadership. And it doesn't require a single word, just your full attention, your full commitment, your full self. That's what people follow, not the performance, the presence. 3. Why certainty attracts respect. People respect certainty, not arrogance, not cloudness. Certainty, the quiet knowing that says I trust my judgment. When you're certain, people feel it, and they respect it, because certainty is rare. Most people are uncertain, wavering, second-guessing. But when you're certain, you stand out, not because you're better, but because you're clear. And clarity attracts respect. So how do you project certainty? 1. Make decisions and stick to them. Certainty is built through decisiveness, so decide and commit. Don't waffle. Don't change your mind every 5 minutes. Decide and move forward. 2. Don't over-explain. Certainty doesn't need justification, so stop explaining yourself. This is what I'm doing. That's enough. When you over-explain, you signal doubt. When you state clearly, you signal certainty. 3. Own your choices. Even if they're wrong, even if you have to change course later, own them, because ownership creates certainty. I made this decision, not I was told to do this, not I had no choice, I chose this. That's power. 4. Trust yourself publicly. Certainty is projected through action, so act, and let your action show that you trust yourself. Because when you act with certainty, others trust you too, not because you're always right, but because you're always clear, and people follow clarity, they respect certainty, especially when the path is uncertain. 4. Leading by example even in silence. You don't need to talk to lead, you just need to act. Because leadership isn't about what you say, it's about what you do. And when you lead by example, you don't need words, your actions speak louder. So how do you lead by example? 1. Do what you say you'll do. Every time, no excuses, no exceptions, because integrity is leadership. When you say you'll do something, do it. That's how you build trust. That's how you build respect, not through words, through consistency. 2. Hold yourself to a higher standard. Don't ask others to do what you won't do yourself. Lead from the front. If you want discipline, be disciplined. If you want integrity, have integrity. If you want action, take action. Because people don't follow words, they follow examples. 3. Be consistent. Leadership isn't one action, it's repeated action, so show up every day. Don't be great once, be good consistently, because consistency is what builds trust. Consistency is what builds influence, not flashy moments, daily discipline. 4. Let your results speak. You don't need to announce your leadership, just live it, and others will notice. Not because you told them to, but because they see someone who walks the walk. Someone who doesn't talk about it, someone who is about it. And that's the most powerful form of leadership there is. Leadership by example, silent, consistent, undeniable. That's how you lead. Conclusion. The leader you're waiting for has been you the whole time. You made it, but not to the end, to the beginning. Because this is where it starts. The moment you stop looking outside and start listening inside. The moment you stop waiting for someone to lead you and start leading yourself. The moment you realize the leader you've been waiting for has been you the whole time. You just didn't trust it, but now you do, because you've learned that your inner voice was never wrong, it was just silenced. That doubt is loud, but leadership is quiet until you train it. That you don't need role models to save you, you need to become one yourself. That your inner leader speaks in action, not excuses. That fear tries to protect you, but leadership tells you to move. That you don't need permission to step forward. That when you trust yourself, others follow. You've learned all of this, now you just have to live it. Because knowledge without action is just information. And you didn't come here for information, you came here for transformation. So here's what happens next: you take what you learned, and you use it today. Not tomorrow, not when you feel ready, today, because the leader inside you is ready now. It's been ready this whole time, it was just waiting for you to finally listen. So listen, to the quiet voice that knows, to the inner authority that's certain, to the leader that's been guiding you all along, and trust it. Not because it's always right, but because it's yours, and your life is yours to lead. No one else can do it for you, no one else should. You're the only leader who knows exactly where you need to go. So stop waiting, stop doubting, stop seeking permission, stop looking for someone to follow, and start leading, from the inside out, with the voice that's been there all along, finally getting the attention it deserves. The leader you're waiting for has been you the whole time, now go. Listen to it, trust it, follow it, and become the leader you were always meant to be. Not someday, not eventually, not when you're ready, now. Because you are ready, you've always been ready, you just needed to hear yourself say it. So say it, I am the leader I've been waiting for. Say it out loud. Write it down, believe it, because it's true. And the moment you believe it, everything changes. You stop seeking, you start leading, you stop waiting, you start moving, you stop doubting, you start trusting, and that trust. That's everything, because when you trust yourself, you don't need anyone else to believe in you. You become your own validation, your own permission, your own leader, and that's freedom. Freedom from waiting, freedom from doubt, freedom from looking outside for answers that are inside. So take it. Take your freedom, take your power, take your leadership. It's been yours all along. You just had to claim it, so claim it. Today, right now. In this moment, the leader you're waiting for has been you the whole time. Now it's time to lead. The end. Your next step: close this book, sit in silence for 60 seconds, and ask yourself, what is my inner leader telling me to do right now? Listen. Really listen, not to the fear, not to the doubt, not to the noise, to the quiet voice beneath all of that, the one that knows, and then do it. Do whatever it's telling you. That's how you start, not with a plan, with a single action, one that your inner leader has been begging you to take. So take it now. Because the world doesn't need another person waiting, it needs you, leading, starting today. Remember, you are not lost. You never were. You were just ignoring the strongest voice you have. But now you're listening, and that changes everything. So go, lead yourself, trust yourself, become yourself. The leader inside you is ready, are you?